पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्. In the last class, we have tried to understand the significance of the Gita teachings in the light of the introduction to the commentary of the Sri Shankaracharya. There are 2-3 points Shankaracharya highlights. One is the dharma is the teaching of the Bhagavadgita. Dharma has 2 ways. One is pravritti dharma, that is to raise a family and strive for the worldly prosperity in this world or the next world, or the nivritti dharma, complete renunciation and living a life of surrendering to God and renunciation. And nivritti dharma, in the words of Sri Shankaracharya, it is jnana vairagya lakshanam. Dharma is meant for 2 purposes. Pravritti dharma will lead to abhyudaya, prosperity in worldly sense, and nivritti dharma will lead to nishrayasa, the spiritual emancipation or the moksha. In order to maintain the balance of the world, of this creation, both these kinds of dharmas are to be followed. And there was a decline of dharma and the predominance of adharma over the years. That is why, in order to maintain the balance, in order to protect those who are following dharma, Krishna incarnated in Devaki to the Vasudeva. This is what we have learnt from the Shankara's commentary. And if you protect the people who are following the spiritual path and the Vaidika dharma, the dharma of the Vedas will also be protected. And about the Bhagavan's lakshana, the characteristics of the Bhagavan. Bhagavan is he who is having the 6 qualities, the jnana, aishwarya, bhakti, shakti, bala, virya, tejo bihi sada sampantaha. The Ishvara, the Creator God, he has got infinite knowledge, jnana, aishwarya, the supremacy, shakti, the power, bala, the strength, and virya, might, and teja, the vigor. And he is associated with Maya. Maya is trigunatmika, of the 3 qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And the Lord is to be seen in both nirguna aspect as well as sarguna aspect. What is the nirguna aspect? Ajaha avyayaha. He is not born, he is not decaying, always remains the same. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupa. Always he exists, he is eternal. Shuddha, he is the pure, and Buddha, he is of the nature of awareness, consciousness, and Mukta, always liberated. Infinitely he is liberated. There was no point of time when he was bound. And we have the Saguna aspect of the God. He is the Bhutanam Ishvaraha. He is the ruler of all the living beings in this world, living and non-living beings in this creation. And this is this Ishvara, the creator God, the Saguna God, Saguna Brahman, he incarnates on this earth. In this case, he has incarnate on this earth to remove the suffering of the people. And he had done great deeds like killing the Kamsa, etc. And he played a very important role in the Mahabharata story. But the wonderful contribution the Krishna has given to the humanity is this Bhagavadgita. Krishna has no prayojana in this incarnation. He has no utility of his own to incarnate on this earth. But even then, in order to bestow the grace on the suffering people, and he inculcated or he teaches the Vaidika Dharmadvayam, Dharmadvaya, two paths of the Dharma, Pravrutti Dharma and Nivrutti Dharma to Arjuna. That means the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is Vedika Dharma. The Arjuna was filled with Shoka and Moha. Shoka means sorrow and the Moha means the delusion. So when we have extreme Shoka, we will be under the delusion. We do not know what we are doing. Our Buddhi or Viveka will be covered. So he was immersed in the ocean as if it is an ocean. Shoka, Moha itself is an ocean. Arjuna was immersed in order to lift him from that predicament. Krishna teaches the Bhagavad Gita. And why Krishna chooses Arjuna to be the recipient of Bhagavad Gita is also important. According to Krishna, Arjuna is the best recipient because he has got excellent qualities and he is called a very balanced person, a very Madhyama Pandava he is called. This Gita is, according to Shankara, Samartha Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bhota. This is the condensation of the essence of the meaning of all the Vedas. So all the Vedas, as if it is condensed or the essence is taken out, the condensed form of that essence of all the meanings of the Vedas is what is called Bhagavad Gita. And Shankara says there are many people who attempted to explain it in different ways, but these explanations have confused the people, ordinary people. In order to derive the exact meaning, the purport of the Gita, I am writing a commentary on that. This is his submission. And he says there are two purposes for a human life, and both the purposes are explained, and means of both the purposes are indicated in the Gita. One is the Abhyudaya, the worldly prosperity, to enjoy the pleasure in this life or in the next life. That is Abhyudaya. But Abhyudaya is not the final goal of the Gita teachings, because this teaching is called Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya means teaches Brahman or the Atman, the ultimate knowledge which will liberate one. And what is the real purpose of the Gita? The Gita teaches what is called Nishreyasa, the final beatitude, moksha, where one realizes his own nature and his relationship with God. I am Atman, I am not body, I am not mind, I am of the nature of the Satchidananda, and I have the same nature as the God, the Brahman. Brahman is Satchidananda, I am also Satchidananda, I am of the nature of Satchidananda. The subjective experience, subjective knowledge is the ultimate teaching of the Gita. So Gita has got a subject, that is Brahma Vidya, and it is for the sake of Nishreyasa, the final liberation, the moksha, nothing short of it. Nishreyasa prayojanam. That is what Shankaracharya says. And what is enumerated, what is explained in the Gita are of two folds according to Krishna. One is Paramartha Tattvam, the ultimate principle, the final principle called Brahman in the Upanishad, Atman in the Upanishad. The same principle in Bhagavadgita, it is explained as Ishvara, the greatest God, Paramatma, Bhagavan, etc. And he is explained, he is termed, the great Lord is termed here as Vasudeva. Vasudeva has got two main meanings. One is one who is born to Vasudeva. He is Vasudeva. But the more philosophical meaning is he lives in the heart of all. Vasanad Vasudevasya Vasisante Jagatrayam Sarvabhuta Nivasoshi Vasudeva Namostute. In the end of chanting of our Vishnu Sahasranama Stotra, we chant one of these shlokas. You reside in the hearts of everyone. You encompasses the whole world. That is why you are called the Vasudeva, O Lord. So Vasudeva himself is Parabrahman. Parabrahman himself is the ultimate truth. The knowledge of ultimate truth is the final goal of studying Bhagavad Gita. So we have sadhana here as well as the sadhya. What is sadhana? Means the method. The method is dharma, that is pravrutti dharma or the nivrutti dharma. Shankaracharya says all of us should start with pravrutti dharma. We should engage ourselves in activities and we should do all activities as Bhagavadaradhana, as a worship to the Lord. We should surrender our mind, body, everything to the Lord and go on doing our action. My action should be surrendered to God. The fruits of the action should be surrendered to God, as well as the agencyship that I am doing is also should be surrendered to God. This is what is called Bhagavadaradhanam karma. As we go on doing, our mind will be purified. It is called Chitta Shuddhi, in the other Sattva Shuddhi in Bhagavad Gita. When we attain that Sattva Shuddhi, we will be able to grasp the knowledge of the God. And we have to become devotees for that. So, Bhakti, Jnana and Karma and also Dhyana, the meditation, we find the beautiful blending of all these four yogas in the Bhagavad Gita. And when we understand, when we have the highest knowledge, this means samasta purushartha siddhihi. Whatever we want in life will be attained. We will become fulfilled. There is nothing to attain. There is no higher goal at all to be attained. And that state, the Gita takes us to that higher state where our life will be fulfilled and we have nothing to gain because we have attained the highest knowledge, highest love, the highest purpose in our life we can attain through the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the commentary of Shankaracharya. Now we will start studying the Gita proper. Before that, I would like to introduce some of the ideas put forward by great saint, philosopher and a devotee of the Lord called Sri Madhusudana Saraswati. The fact of the matter is, Shankaracharya has not written any commentary to the first chapter of the Gita. So the Madhusudana Saraswati has written a detailed commentary even to the first chapter of the Gita. So we shall study the first chapter of the Gita in the light of Madhusudana Saraswati, because he gives a lot of insight, great insight into the first chapter, the Arjuna's predicament, Arjuna's state of mind and the state of the war and the psychological meaning of the war, etc., etc. Now we shall start with the Madhusudana Saraswati's introduction, and some of the points only I will discuss here. And our first point is, Madhusudana Saraswati says, what Gita teaches is the teaching of the Veda. Because Veda teaches actions. According to Veda, actions means our sacrifices, yajna, and all the rituals we do, constitute what is the kriya. And also Veda teaches meditation, dhyana, concentrating the mind and establishing our mind on God, establishing ourselves in God. This is the purpose of the meditation. Veda teaches actions, Veda teaches the meditation, and Veda teaches the highest knowledge in the form of the Upanishad. Correspondingly, in the same way, echoing the teachings of the Vedas, in tune with the teachings of the Veda, Bhagavadgita also teaches three paths according to, two paths according to, actually it is three paths according to Madhusudana Saraswati. According to him, the first 6 chapters, we all know Bhagavad Gita contains 18 chapters. The first 6 chapters are called Karma Shatka. The Karma Yoga is taught in the first 6 chapters. If you study the first 6 chapters, you will find emphasis is given on Karma Yoga, the selfless action through which we can get the purity of mind, Arti Sattva Shuddhi. And the last 6 chapters is, we find emphasis is given on Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is the subject matter of the last 6 chapters, and the Karma Yoga is the subject of the first 6 chapters according to Madhusudana Saraswati. And what about the remaining 6 chapters in the middle? His argument is karma and jnana cannot be clubbed together. In karma, you should have the sense of agencyship. I am the doer, I am the enjoyer of the fruits. All these ideas one should have. Then only one will be fit to do the karma. Karma is always done in the realm of Dvaita. So I see difference from others, and I want to fulfill desires from the external sources. That is why I do karma. And I, of course, if I do karma yoga, I offer all of my karmas to the God. This is the idea behind the karma yoga. And we have jnana yoga, where jnana yogi thinks there is nothing other than God or Brahman and Atman. In the Upanishadic language, neha nanasti kinchana. There is nothing other than Atman or the Brahman. Sarvam Brahmamayam. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahma. So I am Brahma, aham Brahmasmi. And this subjective experience is the culmination of the Jnana Yoga. So in Jnana Yoga you have pure Advaita, non-difference, and the oneness of existence, divinity of man is what you find in the Jnana Yoga. But in the Karma Yoga, you have to have the idea or the sense of difference, Dvaita. I am different from others. That is why the desire creeps up only when you find yourself separate from others. I am incomplete. I want to make myself complete. That is what is called desire. In order to fulfill desire, one engages oneself in the karma or the action. This is the psychology behind the karma. So the karma and jnana cannot meet together. So there should be a medium which combines karma and the jnana. And that is what is the teaching of Krishna in the middle 6th chapter that comes in the middle. First 6th chapter is Karma Yoga, and the last 6th chapter is Jnana Yoga. The binding factor, there is a binding factor which unites karma and jnana, that is Bhakti Yoga. So in the in the middle 6th chapter, what you find is emphasis is on Bhakti. Bhakti is the binding factor of two great paths, that is Jnana Yoga and the Karma Yoga. And Madhusudana Saraswati says, Bhakti is inherent in Karma Yoga and Bhakti is also present in the Jnana Yoga. We can easily understand this. Bhakti is a must in Karma Yoga. Bhakti, without Bhakti one cannot perform Karma Yoga at all. What is Karma Yoga? Dedicating all our actions to God is what is called the Karma Yoga. I should give up my selfishness and the agencyship, what is called ahankara, egotism. I belong to God. I perform all my actions to God. My doership is also, I am relinquishing. It is God who is doing. So that is the action of yoga, the Karma Yoga. So devotion is something inherent in Karma Yoga. Externally we do actions, but internally we keep the devotion, flame of devotion blazing in our heart, in our mind. That is Karma Yoga for us. What is Jnana Yoga? Jnana Yoga is to get united with the God, feeling the presence of God, feeling the bliss of God, experiencing the bliss of God, what is called Bhagavadananda or the Bhajanananda, in which state, the ultimate state, one will not find, one will never feel different from the God. My beloved are one and the same. So the Parabhakti and Jnana Yoga are one and the same. You will understand this when you read Bhakti Yoga of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda is a great explanator of the Bhakti Yoga. You will not find such a wonderful explanation, enumeration of the elements of the Bhakti Yoga in any other book than the Bhakti Yoga written by Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda says, the difference between God and human being, who is a devotee, exists only in the lower levels of the Bhakti. As you advance in the path of the Bhakti, what you see, what you feel, what you experience is the oneness with God, ultimate status or the ultimate experience is I am the God. And you have evidence in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna to this effect. Ramakrishna says, the highest bhakti is prema experienced by Radharani. Radharani used to feel, I am Krishna and I am Krishna. So, Swami Vivekananda in his Bhakti Yoga clearly proves that the highest jnana and highest bhakti are one and the same. So, it is in tune with the Madhusudana Saraswati's assertion that bhakti is inherent in the jnana. So, there is no difference between highest jnana and the highest bhakti. And of course, in Karma Yoga also, we have to follow the bhakti. So, bhakti is something which is all pervading, an overflowing idea in the Bhagavadgita according to him. So, bhakti is in Karma Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is separately enumerated in the middle 6th chapter and Bhakti Shatka. And the last 6th chapter, you have Jnana Yoga, and Krishna himself said, Jnani to Atmaiva Mevatam. And he said there are 4 kinds of devotees, Artho, Jidnasur, Artharti, Jnani cha Dhrtarashtra. Artho, Jidnasu, Artha, one who is in distress, and Jidnasu, one who is aspiring for knowledge. Artharti, one who is seeker of the wealth or the worldly prosperity. The last one is the Jnani. Jnani to Atmaiva Memataha, Yesham Jnani Nityayuktaha, Eka Bhaktihi Vishishyate. And Jnani, you consider Jnani to be the highest Bhakta. So there is no difference between Bhakta, Bhakti and the Jnana. So this is the explanation of the Madhusudana Saraswati. And Madhusudana Saraswati continues and says, there are 3 kinds of bhakti mixed with actions that you will find in the Karma Yoga, and the pure bhakti enumerated in the middle 6 chapters, next 6 chapters of the Gita, and the last chapters, last 6 chapters, you will find the bhakti blended or combined with the knowledge. Bhakti combined with action, and pure bhakti, and bhakti combined with knowledge. That means bhakti is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavadgita according to Madhusudana Saraswati. Bhakti with action in the first 6 chapter, and pure bhakti in the next 6 chapter, and the bhakti with knowledge in the last 6 chapters. You see how wonderfully Madhusudana Saraswati himself is a great scholar. He is an Advaitic scholar. He has written a famous book called Advaita Siddhi, and he says bhakti is something paramount in the teachings of the Lord Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita. And also we have a Mahavakya in the Vedantic tradition, that is Tat Tvam Asi, Tattvam Asi. You might have heard of it. Tat means the Parabrahman or Ishvara, and the Tvam means the Pratyagatman, our indwelling Atman. The Atman, the presence of the Atman we feel within our body, within our mind, and within our intellect is what is called the Pratyagatman, the spiritual consciousness we feel individually in our body is Pratyagatman. So we have here on one hand the Ishvara or the Brahman who encompasses the whole world, who is all pervading consciousness. Chaitanya we call it as Chaitanya. So Vishwa Chaitanya, the universal consciousness we can call it. And another kind of Chaitanya we have in our own body. It is Pratyagatma, the Vyakti Chaitanya, or the Vyashti Chaitanya we can call it. God is Samashti Chaitanya, and our own Atman, Pratyagatman is Vyashti Chaitanya. Collective consciousness, that is Samashti Chaitanya, is God or the Parabrahman. Vyashti Chaitanya, the individual Atman, individual consciousness is the Vyashti Chaitanya. So is there any difference between these two? According to Mahavakya, there is no difference. You are Atman, that Atman itself is Brahman. First step we have to understand is, we are not bodies, we are pure consciousness. That pure consciousness itself, which we feel in our body and mind, within the body and mind, that is individual consciousness, is itself is the universal consciousness. This is the great teaching of the Upanishad. It is one of the Mahavakyas and the most famous of the Mahavakyas in the Upanishad. And our great scholar, intellectual giant, our Madhusudana Saraswati, connects this great teaching to Bhagavad Gita. Here lies his ingenuity, extraordinary intellect. He says, Tat, that means Ishvara, the God, Parabrahman, is enumerated in the second 6 chapters. And that means from the 7th to the 11th chapter, Ishvara is taught there. Parameshvara is taught. And Tvam, the Pratyagatman, what is Atman, is the subject matter of the first 6 chapters. The whole teaching of Veda, Bhagavad Gita is, the Ishvara is none other than Atman. Parabrahman is none other than the Atman. The individual consciousness is none other than the supreme consciousness. And he gives steps of sadhana that is enumerated in Bhagavad Gita in brief. First, everyone should do what is called Nishkama Karma. So there is a lot of difference between Kamya Karma and Nishkama Karma. Kamya Karma means doing actions with desire, selfishness. That is called Kamya Karma. So we can't do, in ordinary level, we can't do any action without a desire, without any selfish intention. But we should convert or transform all these actions into selfless action dedicated to God. This is nishkama karma. And we have to reject a karma, and we should not do any prohibited karma, stealing, telling lies, all these are prohibited karma. We should stick on to the nishkama karma. At the same time, we have to repeat the name of God continuously, and we have to do everything to remember Him. We have to praise the Lord through our prayers and the chanting of hymns and singing of the kirtanas, etc. This is the first step. And slowly our mental defects will be removed. We know what are the mental defects. Raga and Dvesha are the mental defects. I have told it several times. Raga means extreme attachment, Dvesha means aversion. So we have 6 propensities also. Kama, Krodha, etc. All these are mental defects. Then we will arrive at a stage we have the firm Vairagya, Drudha Vairagya, reinforced Vairagya we will have between Vastu and Avastu. What is Vastu? The reality is God alone, and unreal is this world and all its pleasures, etc. And this is the second step. Then it will lead to the third step, where we will develop still higher Vairagya, Vairagya with the pleasures of this life and the next life. Suppose if you have a desire to go to heaven and enjoy there, that also should be given up. And enjoyment in this world should be given up. We should develop Vairagya, dispassion towards it. And one will develop complete cessation of all the turbulence in the mind. That is called Shama. And one will develop sannyasa buddhi, tyaga buddhi, renunciation. As I told you in the last class, sannyasa is not just the physical sannyasa. Sannyasa should be mental sannyasa. Even Gita says such. And we will have aspiration for moksha and moksha alone. It is called mumukshatva. We do not want anything of the worldly nature. We don't want money, we don't want name, we don't want fame, we don't want any worldly position. We want only God and God alone. We want the moksha. That is called the state of mumukshata. And then when we engage in hearing about God, hearing about the Vedantic truths, Upanishadic teaching, and that is called Shravana. One will contemplate on that, think about it rationally, that is manana, and one will be absorbed in the subject of his deliberation and fully concentrate his mind on that. That is called nididhyasana. So Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. And all these steps, according to Madhusudana Saraswati, are enumerated in the Bhagavadgita. Now coming to the first chapter. The first chapter is very, very interesting. The Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada means what? Vishada means sorrow. Every one of us in our life, we had to face at one point or another what is called Vishada. Some of us we will face almost every day, every moment we are sorrowful. But there are some moments, critical moments, and the moments of crisis where we feel extremely sorrow. A sorrow with deep sorrow and extreme kind of sorrow and misery, we become delusional. We lose the capacity of deciding what is good and what is bad, what is best for us and what is bad for us. And that was the state the Arjuna was in when he faced the army of the Kauravas in this battlefield. That is why it is called Vishada. And how Vishada can be yoga? We can accept other yogas, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga as yogas. But Vishada, how can be yoga? There is a great lesson here. Unless you have Vishada, you will be engaged in the worldly pleasures. Suppose I don't have any time of distress, no suffering, no misery, nothing, everything is fine, then we will not develop vairagya and we will not develop love for God, or we will not develop intense hankering, yearning for the realization of God. So Kunti we should remember. Kunti was a great personality you find in the Mahabharata. And Kunti in Bhagavata, she says to Krishna, Krishna, from the birth of my children, they suffered a lot. I also suffered with them. Both of us, me and my sons, both suffered intensely. And we know who caused those suffering. Kauravas, Duryodhana in particular, caused that intense suffering. They are the reasons for our suffering. But we were able to remember you constantly, even in the time of distress. So, it is an opportunity for us. If we are in the favorable condition, if we are living in happiness, joy, in a very favorable conditions, then love of God will not emanate from us, will not arise in our heart. So, Lord, give us more suffering, more difficult time, so that we can remember you. This was the prayer of the Kunti. So that should be our prayer also. Because if our life is like a fully joyful experience, then we will have no scope of remembering God, remembering the Supreme Lord. That is why Vishada leads to yoga. Here, Vishada is not yoga, Arjuna's sorrow is not yoga. Arjuna's sorrow ultimately led him to yoga, the union with God. That is why this yoga or this chapter, every chapter of Bhagavadgita is called yoga, the communion with God, communion with our own self, and spiritual communion it is. The I am not body, I am not here to experience the worldly pleasure. They are temporary, they are full of misery, they are full of suffering. I am in search of the God, I am in search of my own spiritual nature, I am in search of the spiritual status, I am in search of the spiritual freedom. The union with God, union with my own self, that gives me infinite ananda, infinite existence, infinite bliss, and infinite knowledge, the awareness, consciousness, and that is what is called yoga here. That is the subject matter of every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, including the first chapter, where predominantly you find the Vishada, the suffering, the agony of Arjuna. Since that agony of Arjuna led him finally to the yoga with the God, this chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And Krishna says clearly in this chapter, O Arjuna, you are grieving for those about which you should not grieve for. Suppose we are in misery. For what? We are in misery if we don't get a cup of coffee in the morning. It is a silly thing. We should not have any suffering for that. We should not grieve for that. We should not break our heart for that. We should not worry for that. There are hundreds of things we worry about day in and day out, and they are all silly things. We should not worry about them. That is the basic that is how Krishna commences his teaching. That is the basic teaching of the Gita. So we worry about the temporal things. The nature of things is misery only. Sarvam dukkham vivekinaha, Yoga Shastra says. For the wise men, every experience of worldly nature is dukkha. The nature of the worldly existence is dukkha. But we try to find joy, bliss in that. That is why we get disappointment often, more often. So, this ashochya nanvashochastvam. O Arjuna, you will get the purushartha. You will find the goal of life. You will reach the goal of life only by performing your duty. Swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. By observing one's own karma. Swakarma means swadharma. Swadharma means duty. Karma and duty are inseparable. Krishna teaches whatever we are doing as our duty is our dharma, is our duty, the right, it is the path for spiritual liberation. So only by doing that we will get the ultimate fulfillment in our life. Siddhim vindati manavaha. So this is the fundamental teaching with which the conversation between Arjuna and the Krishna commences. This is the beginning of the Gita. And another very interesting thing is, Upanishatsu we say with regard to Bhagavadgita. Bhagavadgitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam. So Bhagavadgita is an Upanishad. In Upanishad we find many conversations. The famous conversation is between Yajnavalkya and the Janaka. That is the subject matter of much of the text in Brihadaranyaka. And you will also have the famous conversation of Yama and Nachiketa. So there are several conversations like that. Why this conversation? Why Mahabharata in any other scripture? Why it is not a direct teaching is told? Teaching is told through the story or through the anecdote or through the conversation. Why it is so? And there is a traditional explanation is, they want to eulogize or praise the Brahma Vidya, which is the subject matter of the text. That is why they have added an anecdote, or they tell that great philosophy, great doctrine through the stories, through the conversation. That is to eulogize it, that is to praise, to make the humans or the common people understand the importance of the teaching. Otherwise the common people would not understand it. Suppose you hear Arjuna heard it, Krishna said that, oh, such a great person Arjuna, and Krishna is such a divine being and it is his teaching, so we will be attracted towards the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And also in the Upanishad, so Janaka is the greatest king, and also the teacher, he is also a greatest Yajnavalkya, he is a great teacher. So Yajnavalkya, such a great sage, the imparting knowledge to the great king called Janaka, so we will be attracted towards those teachings. So in order to attract the attention of the common people like us, and also the praise the greatness and the importance of Brahma Vidya, which is enumerated in this text, so the many books, philosophical texts, including Bhagavad Gita, commences their teaching with the conversation, the anecdote. Now coming to the Arjuna's predicament. What Arjuna is suffering from is loss of viveka. We should understand the term viveka here. Viveka means discrimination. Nowadays in English language we don't want to use the word discrimination. That's why we use the word discernment. That means to segregate what is real and what is not real. What is the result if we don't have that viveka? Suppose you don't have the capacity to discern or separate what is good and what is bad for you, then you will be in a distressed condition. That is what happened to Arjuna. So absence of viveka, viveka bhava, by the absence of viveka, he got into trouble where he was suffering from fundamentally shoka and the moha. Shoka means the suffering or the misery, and out of misery, intense misery, the delusion. We do not know what I am doing, what is in my state, what I have to do. So these all problems stem from the idea of I belong to them, they belong to me. So Kauravas, he sees Kauravas in the battlefield, and suddenly a kind of moha comes in. Infatuation comes, affection. He had no affection towards Kauravas until then. And he was preparing himself for this great battle for several years. And even in the forest, when they were living in the forest, Arjuna goes to some place, remote place, and he does intense austerity, and he propitiates Lord Shiva himself, and Lord Shiva gives him a great weapon called Pashupata. So he was preparing for this great battle for several years. He had no affection, kindness left in him with regard to Kauravas. But suddenly, when he sees Kaurava in front of them, he gets into trouble. Some infatuations overpowers him. That is what exactly called moha here. Moha here, this is what is moha. This is one of the most critical times, the critical time Arjuna had to face. Even in our life, though we prepare ourselves for long battle of life, and our mind, body, we prepare, we are educated for that, we are trained to this effect, till we face some most difficult times in this life due to our own problems. The problem doesn't lie with the world or outside, other people. The problem lies with us. That is called infatuation. That is the moha. We forget what we have studied. We forget what we have learnt in our training, and we develop a kind of moha, infatuation. We just forget all the good training we have or good education we have. So this is the problem with Arjuna, ahankara and the mahakara. On seeing the relatives in front of him on the other side of the army, other side of the war, he thought they belong to me. Duryodhana belongs to me, and Bhishma belongs to me, Drona belongs to me, Dushyasana belongs to me, and I belong to them. Ahankara means pertaining to I. There the I is the center. Mamakara means when you have ahankara, whatever you think you belong to you is mamakara. That idea is called mamakara. So the idea overpowered him. What kind of idea? I belong to them and they belong to them. With regard to kingdom, with regard to teachers, sons and the friends, oh, they all belong to me, I belong to them, so how can I kill them? You see, it is a sudden eruption of the sentiment, that's all. And Arjuna inherently was a warrior and he had well prepared himself for this war. But a kind of infatuation, a kind of delusion overpowered him. And that is what is termed here in Sanskrit, two beautiful Sanskrit words, shoka and moha. As a result, he desisted from the battle and chose to live the life of a beggar. I am ready to be a beggar. I don't want to fight this war. Of course, I am a soldier. I belong to king's family. I am a warrior. I am of the royal clan. But I don't want anything. I don't want to kill my kith and kin. I don't want to kill my friends. I don't want to kill my teacher. I don't want to kill my grandfather Bhishma, because they all belong to me and I belong to them. This life of beggar which he chooses is the great evil. Arjuna is not supposed to live a life of beggar. Krishna says in the Gita itself, Hato va prapyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase niram. There are only two results from the war. Either you will be killed in the war and you will directly go to Swarga, heavens, and you enjoy the fruits of your bravery and your fighting in the war. and also if you win the war, you will enjoy the kingdom. There are only two options. And he, Arjuna, chose the third option, to run away from the war and the life of a bhikshacharyam charanti. Bhikshacharya. He wanted to live a life of the beggar. There are other people whose swadharma may be bhikshacharana, beggar. The sannyasins are called bhikshukas. They are bhikshus. Their duty is to go from door to door and ask for alms. And that is their duty. Sannyasins' duty is begging. It is not the duty of a man, a great personality like Arjuna, who belonged to the warrior class or the Kshatriya clan. So it would have led to great evil, papa for him. So what is that great life for us? What is evil for us? Krishna is showing in this great teaching. So whatever we do as our duty, or whatever the Lord has placed us in any condition of life, it is my duty, swadharma, to follow it and develop spiritual qualities and continue to remember God and purify our mind is our duty and the swadharma. And not to refrain from the duties, running away from the responsibility, it is not our duty. It will lead to great sin. This is one of the most objective teaching, practical teaching of Krishna is giving to whole humanity through Arjuna. So, after getting enlightenment, tattva jnana from Krishna, what Arjuna does? Arjuna did not go to a forest to live a life of contemplation. Does he? No, he did not do that. What he did was to fight the war. So, Atma Jnana, very interestingly, people say our Indian philosophy is pessimistic and it will lead to a kind of passivity of life, etc. No, not in the case of Bhagavadgita. The Atma Jnana, the Brahma Vidya, Bhakti Yoga, and also the Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and all these yogas will make us active in our life. We can be the busiest of people, we can be very much engaged with the world, and still we can live a spiritual life. So all sorrows and the delusion had gone in the case of Arjuna. And he once again engaged in Swadharma. Very interesting thing is, until then, he was always wanting to do the war, wage the war. His whole attention was to how to kill his enemies. He was prepared for that. At that moment, somehow or other, Shoka and Moha overpowered him and he desisted from his duty. And Krishna teaches him Atma Jnana and Swadharma Jnana, and after getting that knowledge made him active. That knowledge made him engage in Swadharma. This is the very interesting aspect of Bhagavad Gita. So the significance of knowledge in Bhagavad Gita is it removes our sorrow, it removes our delusion and prepares ourselves to fight the battle of the life. Of course, that battle was conducted for only 18 days in Mahabharata. It is only a symbolic representation. Here we have war, 365 days in a year, 24 into 7, and the whole battle is being conducted in our own mind between evil and the good. The Kauravas represent the evil in our mind, and the goodness or the virtue is represented by the Pandavas. Pandavas represent virtue and the Kauravas represent what is called vice. So here is a battle. So we have to study the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna helps us. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, that is the last verse or the shloka of the Gita. Wherever there is Yogeshwara Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, and that there will be victory is foregone thing. There will be victory for the sure. That means our battle itself is Mahabharata war. We are all Arjunas. We are all Arjunas. And the Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So we have to take shelter under the feet of the Lord Krishna and fight the battle of life. Then the victory is, we can get the victory. A victory is definitely is possible. So we can win the victory of the war of or the battle of life. What is meant by victory here? Victory here is spiritual fulfillment, moksha, to be one with God, to be the recipient of infinite knowledge, infinite existence and infinite bliss. That is the goal. So here Arjuna is a qualified person for that. Arjuna has got excellent qualities. He was a brave soldier. He had so many good qualities, ethically sound, and he is a warrior. He was a great son to his mother Kunti, great husband to his wife Draupadi, and he was a great brother to his elder brother Dharmaraja or Yudhishthira and Yama. So such a virtuous person, suddenly he got into trouble, the trouble of the lifetime, great crisis of the lifetime. He is, in the words of Shankara, he has merged himself in the ocean of the Shoka and Moha, the sorrow and the delusion. And Bhagavadgita, Krishna's words, and through words of Bhagavadgita, Krishna lifts him from that ocean of Shoka and Moha and prepares him to pursue the battle of life until he gets the spiritual liberation. And this is how we have to approach the first chapter of the Gita. So when we take up the duty and after all delusion and the sorrow has gone, he is very much interested to wage the war. I will kill him, I will kill Bhishma, I will kill Drona, how can I fight? And all this thought filled his mind. This is what is called transformation from negative state of mind to the positive state of mind. So Bhagavad Gita gives us positive state of mind, intense positivity and enthusiasm, zeal for life. That is the gift of Krishna to all of us. So I wanted to start first sloka at least. I couldn't. At least I will read the first sloka. Now the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, some explanation is done. Now we shall start the first sloka. The explanation I will do in the next class. Dhrtarashtra uvacha. Why Dhrtarashtra suddenly comes here? This is the story in continuation, Mahabharata story. Vaishampayana is the narrator. Vaishampayana is telling this story to Parikshit Raja, who is the grandson, Janamejaya Raja, who is the grandson of the Pandavas. The Parikshit Raja is the son of the Subhadra. So all these stories you know. And Janamejaya was performing a great Sarpa Yajna, and so many sages have assembled there. And Vaishampayana, the disciple of Vyasa, the writer of Mahabharata, is narrating the story which he had from his great guru Vyasa himself. And that is the context here. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakaha pandavaschaiva kimakuruvata sanjaya. And Dhrtarashtra is asking this question. Where he is sitting? In the royal palace. In the luxury of the royal palace, he is sitting and asking the Sanjaya. The Vyasa has given the divine eyes to see the happenings of what is happening in the battlefield, sitting in the palace itself, Sanjaya could see, so that Sanjaya could narrate everything what was happening in the battlefield to Dhrtarashtra. So Dhrtarashtra is a blind person, you should understand. Dhrtarashtra is intellectually also is blind, he is spiritually also he is blind. And he is asking, Dharma Kshetre, it is Dharma Kshetra, I will explain in the next class. And Kurukshetra, which is a Dharma Kshetra. And Yuyutsavaha, Samavetaha, and there are number of people who have assembled there with a great desire to wage the war. They have not gone there to do tapas or austerity. They have gone there to fight each other. Who are they? Mamakaha, my people. It is the blindness. Mamaka, moha, infatuation towards Kauravas. He calls them Kauravas as my own people. What about Pandavas? Who is the father of Pandavas? His own brother, Dhritarashtra's brother. He refused to call them as Mamakaha. He calls them Pandavas. His own sons, he calls them Mamakaha. All these things I will explain. Mamakaha, Pandakaha. They have all assembled to wage the war. What they have done? What they should do? They will fight. The question itself is a stupid question, isn't it? When you go for a war to fight in the battlefield, someone asks what they have done. That itself is a stupid question. There is a lot of psychological significance in this question. There is a lot of conceit, the treacheryness hidden in the mind of Dhritarashtra that is spelt out, expressed in this question, that we will try to understand in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.